Once again, in the wrestling world, it looks like there could be a huge spat of Japanese talent signing with American promotions, which seems to have riled up certain companies a little. But what has caused this? Why do American promotions keep signing these wrestlers, and why do the wrestlers accept these offers?
Support WrestleTalk!
Across 2023, there's been a lot of news stories surrounding Japanese promotions, namely New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom, both of which are owned by the same parent company, Bushiroad. There's been rumors and reports surrounding multiple wrestlers, including top names such as Will Ospreay, Julia, Syres, Kairi, and more. All of their futures at one point or another were looking uncertain, with their next career moves looking likely to take them to American shores. Will Ospreay has competed at the top level for New Japan Pro Wrestling for many years, or also in 2023 alone, working for multiple indie promotions, AEW, Impact Wrestling, and also registering interest in WWE. Interest which was reportedly mutual. Kairi worked for Stardom years ago before her first WWE run as Kairi Sane. She left the wrestling side of WWE in 2020, returning to Japan but remaining as an ambassador for the company until 2021, when she left the promotion entirely. She would return to Stardom in 2022, but then return to WWE again in November 2023 at Crown Jewel. Syres, or Syres as some may know her, made a name for herself in Pro Wrestling Diana before being signed by WWE in 2020. Following her brief run in NXT, she left WWE in May 2023, reportedly due to creative differences, with her last match coming nearly a year prior in July 2022. After rumors and reports of interest from American promotions, with WWE reportedly interested in reaching out to her to entice her back, Syres signed with Sukeban, an American Joshi promotion, in November 2023. Julia has been regarded as one of the top names in Stardom for a long time, garnering interest globally, and it was reported in November 2023 by Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE made Julia an offer and she had not decided what to do. Mariah May had been rumored to be signing with an American promotion for months before her signing with AEW in November 2023, after she'd grown in recognition in Stardom as well. Now, you may notice that the discussion around all of these names is pointing one way: talent moving out of Japan and into America. This has been the case in the wrestling world for decades. Aside from one name that made headlines recently, Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne had started wrestling for Stardom in July 2023, after previously working for AEW from 2021 through early 2023. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that Bayne was still under an AEW contract, but had been sent to Stardom to continue working and improving. But that brought about this since-deleted tweet from Stardom: "No wrestler has ever been sent by AEW to come to Stardom, not once." Further reports clarified that Stardom was refuting the use of the term sent, as they had actively recruited Bayne rather than AEW being the ones who made the deal happen. Though Fightful Select would also later clarify that AEW and New Japan sources would agree with the terminology of sent, and yes, this might all seem like semantics on the surface, but considering all this talk of talent from Japanese promotions going elsewhere in the world right now, this might be hinting at something deeper, and this is far from the first time something like this has happened. American promotions signing top talent from Japanese promotions has been a thing for decades, but particularly more so in recent years. In the same announcement, WWE managed to sign AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carl Anderson, and Doc Gallows from New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2016, where Styles and Nakamura were two of the promotion's top stars. The two having just faced each other in a hugely praised match at Wrestle Kingdom 10, with Styles, Anderson, and Gallows being hugely prominent members of the ultra-popular Bullet Club. And of course, there's WWE signing names such as Kana, who would become Asuka, Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, Sarray, Finn Balor, even re-signing Giant Bernard in 2012, who'd made multiple challenges for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship during his run in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Giant Bernard, also known as Albert, also known as A-Train, also known as Prince Albert, would return as Lord Tensai, and we all remember that one, don't we? These huge signings aren't just done by WWE though, as if you look at AEW, the formation of their company in 2019 saw New Japan lose a ton of their top names. Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, Hangman Adam Page, Cody Rhodes, and even years later with signings like Konosuke Takeshita from DDT, Kota Ibushi after he left New Japan, Jay White, Juice Robinson. The DNA of Japanese wrestling is found all over the company. Not to mention those who'd made a name for themselves in Japan as well, like Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter, Riho, Hikaru Shida, Emi Sakura, Yuka Sakazaki, the list goes on. Granted, in some of these cases, they have non-exclusive contracts. So with Sakazaki, for example, she still wrestles in TJPW in Japan while also being signed to AEW. Regardless, it's a running theme throughout all of wrestling history that Japanese promotions like Stardom, like New Japan, like DDT all build up new stars and then a bigger American promotion signs them. And given these American promotions' shaky records with that talent, some being successes and others decidedly not, why do the wrestlers accept these offers? Well, Dave Meltzer had some insight on Wrestling Observer Radio, specifically talking about WWE's interest in Julia, where he said, "We don't know the nature of the offer from WWE. She earns more in Japan than the women in NXT, although they can afford an NXT deal if they wanted to that would beat her Japan earnings. If this is a main roster offer, that is well above what she would be making in Japan." The crucial part of this is the fact that WWE can afford to pay her as much as she was earning in Japan for an NXT deal, above the usual rate it is. WWE, because of its size, has the luxury to be able to pay wrestlers more, and sometimes, as we've seen through all of wrestling history, it's not just about signing that wrestler, it's about making sure that other people don't sign them. And this is why a lot of these wrestlers are willing to accept offers from these larger promotions, because they can get paid a lot more than they otherwise would, and who can begrudge them that? It's not just about getting paid, of course, but it's a pretty big factor. Plus, there's the chance that they'll be featured on a national and international level, which only raises their own personal stock even further. In theory, signing with a big promotion is a nice symbiotic relationship. And it must be frustrating for promotions like Stardom, who are always seen as a secondary promotion, to build stars up only for a bigger fish to come along and take all the hard work they've done and profit from it, which makes it a lot easier to understand why, when reports come out saying that AEW had sent a wrestler to Stardom, had sent a wrestler to a smaller promotion to get her reps in, they'd respond with a bit of fire and passion. Stardom would tweet again, now deleted, that says, "I'm the person that negotiated with Megan every step of the way, leading to her coming to Japan. I've been involved with bringing a large majority of Stardom's foreign talent for 8 years now. It's my job." You can feel the years of resentment underneath these tweets, and I totally get it. If you look at wrestling history, it's not hard to see why promotions like Stardom can start to feel put out by all of their top talent being signed by promotions with bigger wallets behind them. But even with all these big signings going elsewhere, the tides aren't as one-sided as they perhaps once were. There hasn't been much movement from American promotions to Japan in the past, but there's been some notable exceptions. Sasha Banks, after leaving WWE under controversial circumstances, actively chose to go to New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom and challenge Kairi for her IWGP Women's Championship, as well as wrestling in Stardom, despite obvious interest from parties like a big American promotion like AEW, for example. She helped generate buzz for her move away from America when she could have quite comfortably chosen the biggest paycheck or the biggest company to go to, but she actively chose not to, with her instead shining more of a light onto Japanese wrestling. Now, I don't mean to hyperbolize here, but it is one of the first big times that I can remember where somebody has made a name for themselves in WWE and elected to make Stardom and New Japan a priority. It's stuff like this that makes Stardom feel like a big deal, like a destination for people to wrestle, and not just a stepping stone. Syres, meanwhile, despite reported interest from other top American promotions, chose to sign with Sukiban. Under the new management of Triple H, it felt as though he was trying to right some wrongs that occurred under other management, hence why there were so many re-signings of fired talent in 2022. But while Hunter may not have been able to re-sign Syres, it's indicative of the fact that there are other options in the world of wrestling right now, actually sustainable options where wrestlers can earn a living that aren't exclusively one or two promotions in the world, because there is always fresh talent looking for a home. New wrestlers with all the potential in the world are always being found and scouted in all corners of the globe, and having multiple options for them as they progress through their careers can only be a good thing. Maybe they join New Japan's dojo, maybe they can wrestle in Stardom or Ring of Honor or WWE's developmental program. There's multiple avenues and multiple backgrounds for them that can lead to a fruitful and successful wrestling career. And having said everything that I said about Mercedes Moné earlier, there have been reports from Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio in November 2023 that there are no plans for Moné to return to New Japan or Stardom, which is particularly interesting given that just 1 month earlier in October, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that once Moné had recovered from her ankle injury, she was due to return and challenge Julia for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. And now, there might be no Julia or Monet for New Japan or Stardom soon. And there was even more fuel added to that Monet leaving Japan-shaped fire when Monet in a cameo video mentioned that she's excited to get back to wrestling, where you can expect to see her in some wrestling company in 2024, which sure doesn't sound like something someone would say if they were returning to the same promotion. So does that mean she's AEW bound after appearing in the crowd at All in London? Or does that mean that with Triple H in charge once again that Monet could be going back to Banks in WWE? And that's the nature of wrestling. It's always going to be the case that the biggest promotions with the most money will look for the best and most marketable talent in the world. They have resources that others don't, and that's just the nature of the world. WWE signed AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carl Anderson, and Doc Gallows. AEW signed Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, and Cody to form their promotion. There's always a bigger fish, and they are the big fish. But there's always a bigger fish for these promotions too. Much in the same way that talent is raised up in smaller promotions and signed up by bigger ones, talent is raised up in WWE and whisked away by something bigger. For WWE, it's Hollywood. WWE creates mainstream stars, and because they are mainstream, they do bigger things than WWE. Batista, The Rock, John Cena, now even people like Seth Rollins, who's in a Marvel project, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, all these top names are attractive to Hollywood because they are top names, in exactly the same way that a top name in Stardom or New Japan is attractive to WWE or AEW because they are a top name in those promotions. This exact thing happened with John Cena right now, and Ollie spoke more about it in Monday's episode, which I think you should go and watch right now because I think you'll enjoy it. So click the video on screen.